Be ready for BYU Game Day. Download the KSL News Radio app to stream BYU games, plus breaking news during the week. That's the app for KSL News Radio.
The Cougs are going dancing. They will play Thursday at 2 p.m. Brad Nessler on the call, TNT, I believe, right?
That is right.
And they're back in the tournament. And we want to know how far they're going to go. And we want to get you, Cougar Nation, on the show, giving us your thoughts. What are your concerns? How far will they go? 801-575-8255. I think they're going to go far. I have picked them, Mitch, to go to the Elite Eight. And it's not because I'm a blue-goggled homer. I just look at the matchups, and I feel like if they're either going to lose or they're going to go to the next weekend, in my opinion.
I'm kind of with you. I feel like this game, this VCU game, they just need one. I think that's the key, because then you can play loose, whether it's Montana or Wisconsin. Doesn't matter. I mean, just play loose. Like you haven't been in the round of 32 in 15 years. But I do think I'm going to be cautious. I'm going to say round of 32. I do think that, Wisconsin could be a really challenging matchup for BYU, but I just think one win, that would be so big for this program. I'm not trying to set expectations low. I know Kevin Young, if he heard that, he'd be like, we're not operating in that. We want to, get to all the way to San Antonio and get to the Final Four, and that's what they should be aspiring for here in this tournament. But I just think that, you just see all these potential matchups and the hypothetical path to San Antonio, a lot of good teams along the way. And, I think it'll be interesting to see, too, how, we're hearing from the VCU insider, Adam Epstein, about the whistles. That will be interesting to me, because the way that Big 12 officials operate is probably different than many leagues in college basketball. It seems like power conferences tend to be a lot more physical than maybe some of the mid-majors. I bet A-10. I don't know the tendencies of officiating in the A-10, I'll admit. But that will be something that's kind of interesting to me to see how the game is officiated on Thursday. But I think if you can get to the round of 32, you feel good about this. But if you have a loss and you lose to an 11 seed again, it'd be a bitter end to what's been a really fun turnaround season for BYU hoops.
I'm trying not to let myself get to that point, because at the start of the season, I think we need to rewind and remember how we got here. Last year, there was a disappointment, but you felt optimistic that under Mark Pope, if you could retain some of these players, you could build on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then he left, and other guys left. Noah Waterman left. Ali Khalifa left. Jackson Robinson left. You nearly lost Dallin Hall and Richie Saunders, but they returned after going into the portal. And you hire Kevin Young, and you bring all these guys in, and you just didn't know how it was going to come together. And then the injuries in the offseason, it was kind of a slow start in non-conference play. They were trying to find their way. Slow start in conference play as well, and then they figure it. I just feel like, at the start of the year, a lot of us, myself included, said, get to the tournament and get somebody into the NBA, and that's going to be a great first year for Kevin Young. So, all things considered, I get that the targets changed a little bit because of the way that they've played down the stretch, and now there's more expectation. But before the year began, if you had said you're going to get to the tournament in Kevin Young's first year, you're going to be a good team in the Big 12 conference, and a guy goes to the NBA, I think you'd be feeling pretty dang good about the direction of this program.
Definitely. I think just maybe the patience, everything gets moved up quicker when you see the results, and also just the level of commitment financially. We don't see the hard numbers, of course, with BYU, but there's clearly a strong commitment financially to this BYU basketball program, and I'm sure boosters and fans that are heavily involved with that, donations, they want to see wins. So these type of wins are so hard to come by. You want to seize that opportunity when you do get into this spot. Let's get out of the phone line, 801-575-8255. How far will BYU go in the NCAA tournament? Jordan from West Jordan, what say you?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
We're doing great. You got them going far, or are they going to bow out after their
Let's hear it, Jordan.
first matchup?
Sound off.
So I got my bracket, I got my group, and I'm saying they're going to the Elite Eight and losing to Duke.
Why do you have them going that far?
So I think I compare this team to last year's team. Last year's team, like we saw Pope start off really hot, and again, even good in the Big 12. But at least I can remember, they only got like a string of 2 games in a row wins in the Big 12, and they kept on losing, and it was like 2 wins, loss, something like that. This team has been different. It started off slow, but I trust Kevin Young and the adjustments that he made. That I'd rather a team start slow at the beginning of the year and build and build and build in that 9-game win streak where it wasn't depending on the 3 going, where they could win so many different ways. That's different than last year. If we couldn't make 3s, we were basically going to lose last year. This year, I trust that this team, at least it's not against Houston, at least they can basically find different ways to win.
Thanks for the call, Jordan. It's a good point, I think, that this team is built different than last year's team, and they have found other ways to win. Jordan has them going to the Elite Eight.
There's a lot of people, I think, that are making BYU that trendy Elite
Some national
Eight team.
Guys, too.
Yeah. Matt Norlander, I believe, from CBS had him going to the Elite Eight. Seth Davis posed that possibility. I think Andy Katz had that as well. There's some guys that are believing in BYU, and look, I believe in them too. I mean, you see in college basketball this year, outside of Houston's and Florida's and Auburn's of the world, and even probably Duke, I think BYU could hang with close to anyone. I mean, that 1 seed line is pretty elite this year. I don't think there's any dominant team like UConn has been the last 2 years, but those 1 seeds, man, I could see all 4 of them reaching the Final Four. I know it's only happened, I think, once, where all 4 1 seeds reached the Final Four, but this could be the year of a lot of chalk, potentially, because of how good those teams are. But, why can't BYU be in that next grouping of quality teams? Their offense is so good when they're operating at a high level, and they get those corner threes rolling like they did against Iowa State. It's a thing of beauty to watch. So 801-575-8255. John from Salt Lake, how far do you see BYU going into the NCAA tournament?
So, like you say, the big dance is a challenge. BYU has the talent, the ability. They can go to the Sweet 16 if they don't foul like they did over Houston and just play a good game. But they also have the tradition of falling apart when they get to the big dance.
Do you think?
So let's hope they keep it together.
Do you think things are different under Kevin Young, though?
Oh, yeah. Much better. I can just tell. Watching them, they are focused. They're good players. They're dedicated, and they're listening to their coach.
Thanks for the call, John. Sweet 16 for John. And Kevin Young is a big piece to this. I really like the way that he's able to make adjustments on the fly, and I really like how he will play certain players in a given game depending on their performance in that game. I thought in the Houston game, which they lost, one guy that played very well, Dawson Baker. He was one of the few guys making shots, making good plays. He didn't play a whole lot in the previous games leading up to that game against Houston in the semifinal loss. He got more run in that game because he was playing well, and that gives me some confidence in this game against VCU that once he finds the right combination and settles in on some guys who are making shots and playing good defense, that he can ride that wave, especially in the second half where they've been so good at halftime adjustments and tinkering and finding the right things.
Last chance to get on board with us, folks. We're going to take a break. 801-575-8255. We want to hear from you. How far is BYU basketball going to go in this NCAA tournament? Sound off, 801-575-8255. Cougar Nation is sponsored by Central Bank, voted best bank and mortgage in Utah Valley. Visit them online at cbutah.com.